In the browser URL, we saw parameters where the values were dynamic. There is one more option to pass additional information along with the URL, and that is query parameters. Query parameters are attached to the end of URL after a question mark. For example, you may have domainname.com/link, then you have a question mark. Key is equal to value. This is one possibility. The second possibility is you may have more than one pair of parameters. That is, after the question mark, you have key is equal to value, ampersand, key 1 is equal to value 1, and so on. Let's try this practically. I will add price as an additional information to all the tutorials. So I will go to tutorial.js, and here after the regex, I'm going to put a question mark, and then I'll say price is equal to $50. Similarly, for the JavaScript, I'm going to say $100, $80 for TypeScript, and $120 for, let's say, React 17. Now let's check the output. So here, let's say I click here on tutorials and I click regular expression. So you see that in the address bar, you have the question mark and price is equal to 50. So price is the key and $50 is the value which you want for the product price. And that is the additional value you are passing with each URL. Let's click other links as well. I'll say JavaScript, then React, and TypeScript. So you see that the respective values are coming. But this is not all. We need to add more functionalities to this. As you can see in the address bar, after a question mark, the key and values are present. Now we need to refer to the price inside the component and want to display the price here. So let's go to the tdetails.js, that is the tdetails component. Here I will create a function, let's say useQuery. Now I can write here const query is equal to new URLSearchParams. I open the bracket and in the double quotes I'll say question mark price is equal to 20, and I will return the query. So this is how you can write. What is URLSearchParams? I am coming to that in a moment. But instead of writing this way, I can remove this const query and can write just return like this. I can remove the return query also. So this is just an easier way of writing the same thing. The URLSearchParams is a JavaScript interface which gives various methods to work with a query string of a URL. And this is not of React or React Router. This is just for your information. Also, I have fixed the parameter string in the constructor, as you can see here. But we need to have dynamic search parameter. So we can use the useLocation hook of React Router for this purpose. It returns the current URL details in the object returned. So let's import the hook and let me just console log the object of it. First of all, I'll say useLocation here. And now after this function, let me just write const location is equal to useLocation, and I'll say console log location. Let me also comment these other console log statements. Now let's check the output. I will click tutorials and regex, and now let me expand the location object. So here in the object, it has a search key which contains the exact string which is passed in the URLSearchParams constructor. This means we can make use of useLocation and get the value of the query string. So let's do that. I will remove these two lines, and in the constructor, what I'm going to write is I'll say useLocation, the hook dot search. So this search will give me the current URLs query string value, and that I am going to pass to URLSearchParams. The use query will return an object, so I'll say const query is equal to use query. So the URLSearchParams returned object will be assigned to query. And this query object of URLSearchParams has various methods to deal with query string. We will use the get method to get the price. So here I will say a dash, then I'll open a curly bracket, query.get, and what I want is the price. Now let's save to check the output. I'll say localhost tutorials and clicking regex. Now you see that the price is displayed. Let's try other links also. JavaScript, TypeScript and React. So this is how we deal with query string or query parameters. So now let's talk about relative questions. The first question is, what do you mean by query string or URL query parameters? So this is what we have seen for query parameters. It's additional information passed with the URL. You don't always pass this way though. You may have form data and post or other type of request also for passing the data. But normally we see that in the normal search or smaller operations, we do have smaller query strings passed with the URL. Let me show you one more example. Let's try this URL search query string in one more way also. I'll go to Google and I'll try to search React 17. Now you see that after the search we have a question mark, then we have Q, that is the key, is equal to React 17, that is the value. It is showing plus because there are no spaces. Plus basically represents a space here. Then you see an ampersand, right? And that is the separator from one parameter to another, and it goes on like this. The second question is how to get or parse a query string values with the React router. So this also we have seen here, that once in the tDetails component we had all the values, we use the URLSearchParams that returns the query object, which can be referred with the useLocation hook, which returns the location object, and we refer the value using this syntax. The third question is, what is the purpose of the useLocation hook? Well, this hook is really useful. It returns the location object which contains various values of current URL. Generally, we use it whenever we have to deal with the current location of the URL or even query string parameter values, as we have seen in this example. It returns a new location every time the URL changes, somewhat like the state which is updated on every change.